What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 31 of Week in Review. I had to double check that. My name is Sean, and on this week's show, we're going to talk about one movie, one game, unbox a limited edition item that I may have already bought, but this is like a slightly different color variant version of it, and we'll talk about this week's new releases. This week is a bit of a catch-up week. I actually overdid it on content that I consumed last week with 3 movies and 2 different games. So I talked about the more time-sensitive stuff at the time, which was 8th grade, Madden 19, and Black Klansman. On this week's show, we're going to do a little bit of catch-up, which includes The Incredibles 2 and OnRush, 2 things that I am way behind on, so I figured I'll just do an episode and we'll catch up from last week. We'll start this week's episode with The Incredibles 2. I like to preface this review by saying that I typically enjoy Pixar movies. I don't think they've actually ever made an out-and-out bad movie. And that streak continues with The Incredibles 2, which is a movie that I wasn't really all that excited for, honestly. I like The Incredibles. I think The Incredibles is good, but there are just a ton of other franchises that I prefer to it, such as Up or WALL-E or Monsters or Toy Story, and the list goes on. So I wasn't really looking forward to this particular movie. In fact, I viewed it as more of a chore. I have seen every Pixar movie in theaters. That streak is alive and well, and I knew I would get to it eventually. There was no point where I looked at it and I was like, I really want to see this movie. It was like, I'll get to it. I think that overall, The Incredibles 2 is a good movie. I think it's a little overstuffed and it doesn't have a great pace to it. About 15 minutes out from the ending, I was thinking to myself, I'm kind of just done and over with this. I'd like this to hurry up and finish what it's trying to do. I think some of the plots are just really, really stretched out, and it's a little overstuffed in its own kind of weird way. I think the movie starts out strong. I think it's a smart decision to have it start immediately after the end of the first Incredibles. And unfortunately, and this is kind of like light spoilery stuff, the Mole Man has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. You could have actually cut that part out, or at least truncated it into like a newsreel that runs in the background, and given all the information that happens in that particular sequence. The only real thing of consequence from that particular portion from the beginning is the plot line involving Violet and Tony in the movie they're supposed to go to. And Tony, again, light spoilers, gets his mind erased to the point where he forgets that Violet is even exists. He doesn't recognize her, and he forgets their date. And that's all of the consequence from that. Overall, it seems to be a demonstration of maybe why superheroes are outlawed. They have laws and insurance in place, so if a bank gets blown up and all their money gets stolen, they'll be covered and they'll be fine. But it really only serves the purpose to have Frozone interact with someone who gives them a card to initiate the next mission. And again, this all could have been much shorter, way shorter. And I think that's part of the problem. Is it just the sequences are long and interesting, and it just doesn't feel like it has a great pace to it. Elastigirl's totally awesome, and it's cool that she gets to be, front and center. I was frustrated repeatedly with Mr. Incredible, who seemed more driven by ego this time around. It seemed like in the last movie, from what I remember, he felt like he lost a part of himself when superheroes were outlawed. And in this one, it just seems like he's just frustrated and egotistical in a way that's super annoying to me, and where I openly was just sitting there with my hand just going, why are you being a dick? Why you need to be supportive? Stop. It's annoying. It's super annoying. Jack is easily the worst part of this movie, and it was the part that I was dreading the most going into this thing. And that's purely a personal thing. I don't find Baby Hijinks funny, and they gave him, again, light spoilers, 97 powers, and each of them was less interesting than the last. And his sequences were so long, and he fights a raccoon for 4 minutes, and I'm just please move on. It's a frustrating movie. I get it, he has a bunch of powers, Bob doesn't know what he's doing, Helen's really great in the field, and Dash is struggling with math, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know. The flip side of this is Helen on her own personal mission to reignite people's love for superheroes and get the audience behind, or the general public behind them, and view them in a positive light. And that those parts are interesting to it. Again, it's a little long. Once it starts to play up, once some of the series of events start to play out, it starts to become kind of clear where the villain is going to come from. And I don't know. The Incredibles 2 was a hard movie for me to talk about because I just don't really care that much about it. I think that overall it's done well. It's beautifully animated. There are funny moments. But it's just a movie that didn't click with me. I don't think it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I just think that it's a little overstuffed. I think there are too many characters that don't pay off well. I think that the pacing is wrong. And unfortunately, again, Frozone gets pushed way too far to the sidelines. Like, I would have loved it if he had shown up to help a lot sooner than when he does, because by the time he shows up to actually help, the answer for how the kids are going to get out of their situation has already been established. Like, you know that they're only referencing Mr. Incredible's Incredimobile, or whatever the hell it's called, is because it's going to come into play later, and it comes into play later a little too obviously, honestly. I don't know. Like, I walked out of the theater, I was like, that was a good movie. I don't think I ever really need to watch it again, which is weird to say about a movie studio that I enjoy so much. But that's just kind of how that's how I feel about it. Like, it's a good movie. I don't know. It's just not something that clicks with me in a way that makes me feel like super, super excited about it, or like this is really bad and you should avoid it. If you're interested, go see it. It's another Pixar movie. They continue their streak of not making a bad movie. If you're not interested in it, I don't think you're really missing anything. And it's in this weird middle ground of, it's there, but eh. The Incredibles 2 was another movie that I used the AMC A-list stubs membership, whatever, for. So that was another $6 added to the $23 from last week. Gives me a total of $29 in ticket sales that I have now saved, spending only $22 on the card. So currently plus $7. So that's exciting. Our game this week comes to us in the form of OnRush, a game that I talked about the beta a few months ago, I guess, at this point, and was available for free play days with Xbox Live Gold. And I played about 6 hours of it, and it is a very okay game that I think has like a couple of issues that really hold it back. It also has a lack of variety in the game modes, and I think a lack of circuit racing or point-to-point racing really hurts this game and makes the events feel really repetitive. After playing the beta, I was at least interested in playing the game, even if I had some reservations on it. And thankfully, with this free-to-play days, I was able to play the game, the full retail package, and try out the other 4 cars and the other couple of game modes that they added to it. And unfortunately, it's just not that great. I played it for probably about 6 hours, and about the 3 to 4 hour mark, I started to feel like I should probably be doing something different, like something more interesting, or playing something that feels more productive. But I was close enough with some of the achievements that I stuck around for another couple of hours, and I think I racked up like 570 gamer score out of it, which isn't too bad considering I spent 6 hours with the game. Unfortunately, the event started to feel really, really repetitive. I think that it really needs like some type of circuit racing or some type of point-to-point racing to break up the monotony of, hey, you're still playing this checkpoint game, or you're still playing this point gain game. Like, the events aren't interesting enough on their own to warrant only 4 of them and you playing them repeatedly over and over and over again. So I played about 10 of each of the 4 events, so 40 events total, 6 hours of the game, and I don't know, I walked away unimpressed. I thought that the game looked really, really beautiful and it played well, but just wasn't interesting enough. The other part of it is sometimes the game actually feels unbalanced, both in the way the wrecks work and specifically with the capture point game type, where if one team ends up in front, they can rattle off like 3 or 4 points in a row, and all of a sudden you either have lost a lead or you've fallen way, way, way behind with not much of a chance of catching up. On the wreck side, it did feel like there were a lot of times where I hit walls and it said wrecked, and I was like, I have hit walls harder than that and been fine to just drive on the course. But this one caused a wreck all of a sudden. It just felt inconsistent and really frustrating to deal with, because I'd come out of a turn and I'd be like, hey, I'm going to hit this wall. And then I'd clip it barely and it's like, oh, you're wrecked. I'm like, all right, cool. One of the other areas this game struggles is there's way too much stuff happening on screen. I constantly was running into other objects like trees in the middle of the track, or concrete barriers, or whatever the heck it was. I just kept running into stuff because I'm looking at 4 or 5 other things that are going on the screen, and the UI just doesn't feel clean enough, and it feels too distracting, and then that causes wrecks, which it's just, I don't know, sometimes it just feels like a mess, and it's hard to play and hard to see exactly what's going on, which is unfortunate. So, I mean, if you really like racing games, give it a try. Maybe you'll find something that I didn't enjoy. Maybe you'll like the more team-based aspect of it than I did. I don't know. I mean, for me, I was happy with the 4 or 5 hours I spent with it, and then mopped up some achievements and called it good. Next up on the show, we have Limited Edition, and this item may look familiar to regular viewers of this show. I bought it a couple months ago, opened it on the show, fell in love for the low price of $69.99, and then a couple months later, they announced that they were releasing a variant color, which happens to be my favorite color, green, and they released it. So you get to watch me fall in love for $69.99 all over again, because I bought the Hyperkin Duke controller again, but in green. Thank God. Thank God this is a thing. So we'll crack it open and see how cool it looks. It looks pretty sweet. It's a good green.
Moments later.
Really should have taken the tape off before I started recording.
More moments later.
Alright. Tape is off. We have our beautiful Hyperkin Duke in green. Oh. Man, that looks sweet. I always underestimate how much I enjoy, like, the kind of the see-through plastic aspect of certain consoles. My brother actually had a Game Boy Pocket that was like a clear color. Not, I don't know where I'm going with that. It was clear and you could see inside the console. That's what the point I'm trying to make. Anywho, this is really cool. I like it. I mean, obviously I was going to like it because I really liked the Hyperkin Duke, the first one that I bought, but having it in a really nice shade of green definitely helps for me because I really, really love the color of green, as evidenced by the many Green Bay Packers things behind me. And I don't know, I just like green. Not like the green, but green, the color. I don't know what I mean by the green. You could go for money or something else, but feels good. Duh. I don't really know. I feel weird because I'm like, oh, I bought this thing again and I'm going to love it, but I've already talked about how great it is. Oh, man. This is so cool. Makes my hands feel fucking tiny. But there you go. There you have it. Little 3.5 millimeter headphone jack in there, so you can use your Xbox One headset if you want. That's what I typically use when my Astros aren't charged. Shout out to name dropping right there. Hey, Astro. You want to send free headphones to this show, it gets like, I don't know, 14 views an episode. Go ahead and send some. So there you go. Another $70, another controller. Looks good, feels good, great color. Really, really, man, I really dig it. I like these old Duke style controllers, even though they're way too big for my hands. Like very tiny little baby hands. Help. Oh, good. The right trigger squeaks, just like it does on the other one. Is that picking up? So there you have it. Hyperkin Duke green controller. I don't know. Weirdly enough, I haven't actually seen these out and about. I've only seen them because I've pre-ordered them. Blech, skipping over my words here. So I don't know how easy these are to find, but I feel like if you are that into it, you're probably gonna get one anyway. So you probably pre-ordered it. But If they had announced this one first, I probably would have just bought this one by itself. But since I really wanted the other one and I had no idea this was coming down the pipe, I now have both of them. So 2 Hyperkin controllers for ultimate Halo nostalgia. These are really great, and I really like the translucent aspect of the plastic. So there you go. I have fallen in love for $69.99 all over again. Finally, on this week's show, we'll take a look at this week's new releases. On Blu-ray, Deadpool 2 hits with an extended cut that has an extra 15 minutes of footage, so I'm looking forward to checking that out, and hopefully there will be impressions of that next week. In theaters, The Happy Time Murders hits, which looks like it's going to hit the spot for me because I sure do enjoy a raunchy R-rated comedy every now and again, and that looks pretty funny. On the game side this week, everything I'm going to talk about is available on the PlayStation 4. Some of it's available on the Switch, but mainly I just used the PSN drop to kind of go through and look and see what was available. So, unfortunately, nothing all that interesting was out on the Xbox One this week, which is too bad. But Guacamelee 2 hits PS4, which is a sequel to Guacamelee, a game that I started and enjoyed but never finished. Slime Rancher, which is available on the Xbox One already. It was Games with Gold a few months ago, or actually maybe a year ago at this point. But Slime Rancher is a fantastic game. It's now available on PlayStation 4 digitally. And then 2 games that I didn't really know anything about until I kind of browsed and watched some trailers. Pizza Titan Ultra, which is a game where you deliver pizzas as a robot. I don't know, look kind of weird and crazy, and it's cheap enough to maybe warrant a try. And Little Dragon Cafe is out. That is on the PlayStation 4 and on the Switch for sure, because I was looking into that a little bit more. It looks like it's from the creator of Harvest Moon. You run a cafe and raise a dragon. I don't know, I liked the art style, and it looked really interesting, so maybe we'll try that out down the road. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. If you like the content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below so you know when I post new videos. Leave me a comment and let me know what you're looking forward to. And as always, check back every Tuesday for more Week in Review.